And long story short, the way this works is if you are in prison and you write us a letter claiming to be innocent, it takes us a good 3, sometimes longer, 3 to 5 years to vet your case. And what we do, we have a constant correspondence with the inmate, ask him or her a ton of questions, put them on record. We accumulate over time the entire written record of the case, trial transcripts, post-conviction hearings, legal briefs, police reports, you name it, forensic reports, whatever exists. And our volunteers and staff review these case summaries are written up. Staff members, along with the volunteer who's developing the particular case, have meetings and discuss the pros and cons of all different types of cases that are rising to the front burner. And then the last step in selecting a case is we go into the prison and for the first time interview extensively the prospective Centurion client. Mm-hmm. By that time, we have reviewed the entire record of the case. We really, unless something is developed in the interview, we've come to believe that they're innocent. But we're also another important element in our selection process is what kind of people are these folks who got wrongly arrested, accused, and convicted? What kind of life did they lead before this happened to them? Were they violent men or women? We don't we don't take cases where people have a violent history at all. What kind of by the time we come along, they've been in prison from when we start to develop to when we commit to a case. They've been in prison for 15, 20 years. What have they done with their time since they've been in prison? How serious are they in investing and doing the hard work required in prison to prepare themselves for life outside prison, should we be able to free them? So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And right now, at any particular time, Centurion has about 20 concurrent cases that we're working on across the country.
At the same time, yeah, that's a lot.
At the same time, yes, yes,
that's a lot to juggle.
Right. Yeah,
it's really remarkable. Now, I don't want to run out of time and not talk a little bit about your wonderful book, which I just adored. I listened to it. People can buy the book or buy an audio book or rent an audio book. You want to tell us a little bit about how you came to write the book, and if we have some time, maybe read a passage from the book?
Yeah, I appreciate that opportunity, Harry. Yes.
Okay.
First of all, I think it's important for the listening audience to know that after 35 years of starting and managing as the executive director of Centurion, I decided to step away from the day-to-day to retire, if you will, or step away from the day-to-day management of Centurion, and I turned that over to Kate Germond, who in turn has turned it over to our new ED, Corey Waldron. And so I did that for several reasons. When I retired, I stayed on the board where I'm still on Centurion's board. Mm-hmm. I also kept 7 of the cases that I had been working on for a number of years prior to my retirement in May of 2015. And I'm happy to say that 5 of those 7 have been freed during my quote unquote retirement years.
That's
so I have 2 cases I'm still working on, but most of the hard work has been accomplished on those cases, and we're in court right now. So what my vision, my dream, which I've had for a long time, is to step aside so I can write this book. And because, listen, we've been at this for 40 years. We like to think we have a pretty good story to tell. We have a lot of material from which to draw to comment on the state of affairs in our criminal justice system, to describe the difficulties in freeing the innocent and some of the barriers and that you run into in terms of attempting to do this. And also, I thought it was important to, as did Doubleday, the publisher, to describe to the readers my own personal journey, which we've gone into in these three podcasts.
Right.
What led me into this work, and how did we develop Centurion as an organization? Some of the difficulties and challenges that we faced doing that. In other words, the writer is Jim McCloskey, but I want to point out my co-writer was Philip Lerman. Now, Philip is a professional writer, and he did a great job. We work really well together. A lot of people have told us it's a very readable page turner, and I attribute a lot of that writing skill, give it the flavor to Phil. So we worked very well together. I'm the content guy, and he would write a draft of a chapter based on the information I gave him, and then we would trade drafts back and forth. But the fluidity of the read is a lot of the credit goes to Phil. So anyway, I wanted to tell the Centurion story as well, because we're not well known. We're really under the radar. As you say, we were the first ones to do this, and we're doing it for a number of years before Barry and others have come along. I think right now in the U.S. there's something like 55 quote-unquote innocence projects, plus finally district attorney's officers setting up conviction integrity units looking at convictions where there might be an innocent person wrongly convicted in their jurisdiction. So I wanted to educate the public. You know, where I was 40 years ago, believing that we have almost a flawless criminal justice, that the courtroom verdicts in criminal cases are almost universally accurate, when in fact so many of them are inaccurate and wrong for a variety of reasons. And I wanted this book to tell that story and give the general public insights into how the criminal justice system leaves a lot to be desired.
And you do accomplish that. Now, if before we wrap up, which we have to do shortly, can people just look up online Centurion Ministries? Is that's it? And they'll find the website.
That's all.
That's it.
That's all they have to do is look up Centurion. Go. Excuse me.
Sure.
Go to our, go to our website, and we have all kinds of information easily obtainable on the internet.
That's great.
And they can read about our staff, our history, some of our cases. My throat's getting a little dry here. Excuse me.
That's sure. Take a drink. I wish so much that we could talk about re-entry, because that's, well, in a way, our next guest is going to cover that. Let me just say, while you get your throat working again, that we're going to have Richard Miles, who happens to be an exoneree that you and Centurion helped. He lives in Texas, and he is a CNN hero. Those of you who watch that program on CNN every year, remarkable man. And I think he will talk to us probably about the difficulty of reentry, which is such a hard thing to come out of prison, and the world you left behind is not the world you're coming back into. So Richard is going to take us on that journey, and also what he did to form his own organization to help others. So that is our next podcast. Go ahead.
And let me just say something very quickly about Richard, and cut me off. We're running out of time.
Okay.
He was through our work and the work of a great Dallas lawyer, Cheryl Watley, and I might add, the Dallas District Attorney's Office, their conviction integrity unit. Richard was completely exonerated throughout the judicial system of Texas. He was declared to be an actually innocent man based on the new evidence that we developed that demonstrated that the prosecutor suborned perjury in his case, and that the police had the identity of the real killer and hid that because they had already brought Richard. They were in the process of bringing Richard to trial, and they didn't want to backtrack on that. So,
right.
How
often that happens?
Oh yeah, that happens. That happens a lot.
Too much.
It happens a lot. It's just, the thing is the police want to clear their cases. They want to make themselves look good by quote unquote solving their homicides. Prosecutors want to. If you're a prosecutor, you want to get a conviction, and if you don't get convictions and you go back to the office without one, you're not recognized for having the ability you should have, and you lose stature in the office, that kind of a thing. But nevertheless, Richard was fully exonerated, and we started work for. Now he spent 15 years for a Dallas murder he didn't do.
Right, and he's going to tell us about that.
Yeah, he'll tell you about that. But I want your listeners, when they're initially listening to him, to realize they're listening to a completely innocent man who, at the age of 19, was framed by the Dallas police and the prosecutor's office and spent 15 years in prison for something somebody else did.
And that is the story that repeats itself over and over and over again. Well, Jim,
and over again. Yeah.
Yeah. This has been such a treat for me and for our listeners to hear your story about the formation of your wonderful organization, Centurion Ministries. And I hope that people will learn a great deal from these 3 podcasts. And then Richard being the proof of what you have devoted your life to. So I must say thank you so much for your time and your devotion to those who are innocent. We thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Harriet. I really appreciate pursuing your podcast, Pursuing Justice, to include us in the stories that you want your listeners to know. So thank you very much. I really appreciate and enjoyed speaking with you.
Thank you. Thank you again. And we'll see you next time on Pursuing Justice.